With every passing year, Turkey continues to deny their dark past, using their lies to hide behind Article 301, to cut off any mention of the Armenian genocide. In various regions of the world, there are gatherings just like this one, where communities remind the entire world that Turkey's campaign of extermination suffered by Armenians, Assyrians, and Greeks deserves the harshest of international condemnation. Today it is clear that Turkey failed, and the genocide our people have endured is still at the forefront of the Armenian people's quest for justice. We are not alone in this fight. Governments and peoples alike are taking up the torch of justice in solidarity with our cause. Today, we see nations that are brave enough to stand up to Erdogan and his cabinet without succumbing to political pressure. The Turkish regime is not only being condemned by an overwhelming number of governments around the world, but their immoral and continuous efforts of denial are being denounced by brave Turks, who by risking their lives are adhering to historical facts that are demanding justice for the atrocities that were systematically perpetrated by Ottoman Turks. Garo Paylan, among this group of brave individuals, continues to introduce the topic of the Armenian genocide to the Turkish parliament floor, despite being physically assaulted by fellow parliamentarians. Turkey's history will continue to haunt them until responsibility and accountability are taken for their actions. The Turkish government's influence is plentiful. They use resources and income being produced from lands not even their own, taking this money and using it to pay and influence educators of our universities to teach a fabricated version of history. We witnessed this in our very own backyard at CSUN, Chapman, and other local universities. They creep their way into the classroom using polished talking points and money from their corrupt government to put their foot in the doors of our sacred institutions of truth. But what's really happening on our campuses was a spread of false, denialist propaganda about the Armenian genocide on behalf of the Turkish regime. And for this, Armenian youth will not stand. So we went to Chapman and stood eye to eye with the Turkish extremists and the professor who was delivering the Turkish propaganda. They cowered and ran away. They fled for the hills the same way mercenary Azeris did that had no claim for the lands that they attempted to fight for and were not willing to die for. This trend will continue for any regime without a truthful cause that is built on lies. The truth is on our side and in our hearts and will fuel us in the classrooms, in the halls of Congress, and on battlefield. And just last week, the co-chairman of the Congressional Turkish Caucus, Representative Jerry Canoli, visited and paid tribute to the martyrs of the Armenian genocide at Dzizernagapert. This visit was the first ever by a leader of a congressional caucus that aggressively obstructs recognition of the Armenian genocide. And the congressman in the past year alone was joined by many governments in recognizing Turkey's crimes, from Alabama to Italy, even Libya to Egypt. We are seeing more and more from across the world recognize the past. We must all be soldiers on the front lines of battle for our righteous cause and keep the battle of Haydad alive. The number of years passed since the state-sponsored annihilation of my ancestors, of our ancestors, is irrelevant. There needs to be justice for these unpunished crimes, and the only way for that is for us, Armenians, to keep this fire burning. But there's only one way to ensure lasting peace, and that is the establishment of justice. Whether it is securing the lands of liberated people of Artsakh or ensuring justice for our ancestors, we will not get over the past, we will not give up our fights, and we will not consider any future that does not involve righteous restitution and reparations.
What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it?
Now! As for the United States, we continue to see cowardice by our federal government as they cave into political pressure from Turkey. But with 49 states passing official legislation recognizing the Armenian genocide, the time for action is now! The University of California and the state of California have millions invested in the government of Turkey. The time has come to stop funding the operations of oppressing minorities, jailing journalists, supporting ISIS, and feeding their denialist propaganda. Let's pay! Turkey will pay!
Turkey must pay! Turkey will pay! Turkey must pay! Turkey will pay! Turkey must pay! Turkey will pay!
Today is more important than ever to realize the hate some have towards the Armenian people. Hate was the motivating factor behind the Armenian genocide. Hate was the motivating factor when the Azeris attacked us at the border and sparked the 4-day war. And it was yet again a message of hate when our Armenian schools were vandalized with Turkish flags. A flag that represents oppression, a flag that represents a tyrannical government, a flag that represents a genocidal regime. It's our duty to counter this hate with truth, with passion, with persistence, and with unity. Never underestimate the power of a united and invigorated people. It has been famously said, our revenge will be to survive. That was true for our ancestors that had to face the genocide firsthand.
Justice, our demand for the recognition of the Armenian genocide is not just relevant to us as Armenians, but rather to the entire world. I want to ask each of you to look around right now. Look at the strength in our unity. We are standing here united as proof that no passage of time or generational change will ever shake our resolve or deter us from pursuing our demand for truth and justice. The tales of all of those unimaginable horrors. Resilience, commitment, and will drove our nation to fight for freedom and independence merely years after the genocide. Today, an independent Armenia and Artsakh is the beacon of hope for our future, through which we have shown the world that tyranny, oppression, and genocide will not deter us from capturing our destiny and advancing our nation. Today, united, we marched for truth. United, we marched for justice. Let me hear you one more time.
Դեպի ավարտը մոտեցանք, սիրելիներ։ Քիչ մնաց ես ձեզի պիտի շնորհակալություն հայտնեի։ Շնորհակալություն պիտի հայտնեի, որ այստեղ դուք եկաք, ես տակ, արևի տակ։ Հետո այնտեղ նստել էի, մեծ մամայիս ձայնը ականջս եկավ։ Որևէ մեկը այստեղ իմ շնորհակալությունս չի ընդունիր։ Ազգային բարդականությունն է, որ դուք այստեղ եք։ Ընտանեկան բարդականություն է, որ դուք այստեղ եք։ Մարդկային բարդականություն է, որ դուք այստեղ եք։ Այսօր, սիրելիներ, մեր բարձ ձևով մենք հիշեցինք, մենք հարգեցինք, մենք պահանջեցինք, խոնարեցինք եւ ձունգի եկանք, սրիգաներութեմ ձունգի չեկանք, սուրբերութեմ մենք ձունգի եկանք, ձեզի ասեմ որ մարդկանց, այն մարդկանց, որ իրենց նահատակությամբ ու զոհողությամբ հույս և լույս սփռեցին մեր բոլորի վրա, այդ սերունդին, որ կյանքի գնով, իրենց կյանքի գնով երաշխավորեցին մեր ներկան ու աբական, քաչեր, անանուն և հայտնի անուններով, որ գառուցեցին նորեն մեր ներկան ու աբական, մշակեցին ազգ ու ընտանիք և մեր մեջ ստեղծեցին այդ բարդաջանությունը, որ չի թույլատրել թուլություն, չի թույլատրել շեղում և չի թույլատրել անվճռականություն։ Սիրելիներ, of all those who gave their lives so that we would have ours 104 years later, and God give us the strength to live in the long shadows of all those who came before us. You, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, mommy and tanti, you are the link to the last generation of our originals who were born in Yergir, to the first generation of our families who came to this country so that we could live and become full-blooded, fate-deciding Armenians on our own. Եվ վերջապես կկոչեմ եւ երևի հայտնի փայծանքներով թարգմանության։ Ավարայրի ճակատամարտին եւ որ հեթանոսները մեծի փորձեցին մեր կրոնափոխությունը ստիպել եւ որ արդեն ոսկոր հասավ, մեր հերոսները հետեւյալ դողով քաչալերեցին մեր դղոց։ From this faith, no one can shake us, neither angels nor men, neither sword nor fire nor water nor any other heinous evil. Hishetzek, from this faith, no one can shake you. Shragalchu. Հայրակիրը կոչվեցավ